So for boating apps, again, weather is huge, right? For
Yeah.
being have an enjoyable experience or being safe, right? So you have to check the weather. And I've talked to captains that drive oil tankers around the world. And I played golf with a guy that did that. And I said, well, what can you tell me about boating with that kind of boat? He says, Lou, you got to check the weather, right? You got to respect it. So, and I'll never forget that. So I use weather, everybody has a weather app. I use WeatherBug. Now I have a Doppler radar app. I use one called My Radar. So I can see if there's pop-up systems in the area, which means, you know what, you got to watch out for that. Or if it's a line of weather coming, I can see and maybe time and an activity I might have or know that I can't go and I got to cut it short.
Mm-hmm.
So having Doppler radar or something, I think you have to have, and I check that all the time when I'm out there. I have an app just called Lightning, what's really good about that is if you see rain coming, is it full of lightning or not? Now, what's different about that app is that is a history of weather, not a prediction of weather. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which has happened already. So you can see whether a storm has lightning in it or not. And, I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff, but boy, I'm definitely afraid of lightning.
Sure.
Because if you go on YouTube, look at boat gets struck by lightning and look at a couple of those examples, and you'll see why. I have another one that's really, really good. It's called Wind Finder. What
Wind.
that does, wind, W-I-N-D, right? Wind Finder.
Okay.
It's a red app with a little propeller in it. And what that does, it gives you a prediction of how the wind's going to be and how it's predicted to change through the day. So sometimes it'll say, 4 knots, 8 knots, 6 knots, and then it'll go to 25 knots, right, at 12 o'clock. So you have to get off the water way before that because they might not get it right. And at a knot is 1 nautical mile an hour. So a nautical mile is 6,076 feet, and a statute mile is 5,280, right? So a mile per hour is a regular mile, right? A statute mile per hour, and a knot is 1 nautical mile an hour. It's roughly 15% difference. So the simple way to think of it is, if an airplane's flying at 100 knots, it's really at about roughly 115 miles an hour. So if you're saying it's blowing at 20 knots, it's really 23 miles per hour. So it's understating a number you might think, think it is, right? So anyway, wind finder, you can set it for miles per hour or knots. And it gives you maybe a 7-day. And it's, long range in any weather thing is wrong, right? It's never right long range, or it's maybe kind of close. But don't, take it with a grain of salt until it's the day before, I would say. And even that can be wrong. But it gives you an indication. If it's saying it's going to blow 3 miles an hour, it's not going to be 20, right? If it's saying 20, it's not going to be 3. It's never exactly right. I should say never. It's rarely exactly right, but it's pretty close. So that's a good one. I have a couple navigation apps. So if you have a personal watercraft like you have, right? You can get handheld navigation to see where you are. Now you can get free apps on your phone that act as a chart plotter, and one is called Marine Ways, WAYS, or you can get one called Navionics. You can't get the Marine Ways on iPhone for some reason. I don't know why, but you can get it on Android. And they both, turn your phone into a chart plotter, which means it shows you on the map, right? And how you're approaching a channel, and they're color coded so you can see depth changes based on color. So if you see the white in front of you, you have good water. If you see it's going to turn into different colors, it's going to be shallow. And then all the numbers on the chart is how deep it is at average low tide. It's called mean low water. When you look at a chart and it says 6, 4, 9, 12, that's how deep it is in feet at low tide, right? And it's about right. Not always perfect, but it's close. And again, Navionics is another one for navigation. Navionics, Navionics.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And
nice.
Both of those. And you can pay a little extra. I'm cheap. I grew up in Pennsauken, right? So, why would you get a large drink when it's free refills? I would never do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do pay on these apps, you do get really a lot of nice features. And the one I was talking about earlier for making arrangements to stay at a transient slip, and that's what it's called when you stay in a motel overnight, right? A slip for your boat is called DOCKWA, DOCKWA, DOCKWA.
Okay.
And that would be one where you can see if they have openings for you, put in how big your boat is, they'll tell you how much it is, and you can reserve a slip.
It's
And
awesome.
once you start doing that, I'm telling you, once you start like doing a trip, and you don't need a big boat, you can do it with a 16 footer. You can do it with a couple jet skis and just stay in Jersey and protect the waters, check the weather, right? And you can go from town to town to town by boat and, hang out at the dock. People that are hanging at the dock are having a lot of fun, right? It's
Hmm.
just a wonderful community of people. But that's how you would do that if you're going to make reservations. Dock, wow. I have Google Earth just for looking at stuff. If I've never been somewhere before, I like to get an actual image of it from satellite. I have a fun one I use for just seeing stuff. It's called marine traffic, and you can actually look at different boats that are out there. Say if you're out in the ocean, I do a lot of ocean fishing. I can see what the name of the boat is that's out in front of me, and I can call them on a radio if I had to for some reason. It's just called marine traffic. There's a system out there called AIS, Automatic Identification System, where they're broadcasting the information uh, over the VHF radio, what kind of boat they're in, like
Hmm.
a tugboat or oil tanker or whatever it might be, and the name of the boat. So if you had to call them, so that's what I can look at. I can look that up on Marine Traffic app. I have the U.S. Coast Guard app, which is really good if you're just playing on your phone. You can go on the U.S. Coast Guard app, and there's 9 different things you can do on that. And one is you can check buoy heights, or excuse me, wave heights from buoys, get the report from the buoy and what the water temperature is, things like that, as well as looking up the actual rules of the road. Like if you just want to know what the actual official rule is for passing someone head on, like we mentioned before,
Yeah.
it gives you the actual rule, so how it is. And
Nice.
then I have one that's kind of fun, that's kind of neat for, so you're going to try to meet your friends on the beach, and they say, you say, where are you? And they don't have an umbrella for, the color identifying, spot, right? There's an app called What Three Words. And what that does is it changes your latitude, longitude position into 3 words, right? So if I tap on this where I'm sitting right now, right, it comes in to, I'm in fruit volunteered lower. Excuse me, kind of weird. So if you're on the beach, your friends can text you where they are with 3 words. You can type it in, and it tells you how to get there. You know what I mean? So if you're at a concert or something, this really wouldn't be for boat navigation, but
And
in
it's
a weird
what,
way.
3 words?
What is a word? The 3 is a numeral, and words is a word,
That's
right?
pretty awesome.
Yeah, the numeral 3 words.
I like
And
that.
then yeah, it's pretty cool. Then I have one for tides, and there's all kinds of tide apps. Just get whatever one you play with, or that has the highest rating.
Hmm.
And the one I use is at ST2, Saltwater Tides 2. And with that, I can see, what the tide's going to be, 3 months from now if I plan a job or something, and I can see punch in an area and it gives me the tides, and that's prediction. So it's, not always exactly right, but it's pretty almost 99% right. But what's interesting about that is you see how high and how low the tide is. In New Jersey, we have a swing from 8 inches to 8 feet, depending on where you are, from high to low. In Waretown and Barnegat Bay, you only have about 8 inches of tide between high and low.
Oh,
On the
wow.
Delaware River in Trenton, you have about 8 feet of tide. Depending on the moon phase, it could even be more. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
So with the tide app, not only can see that when it's going to be, you see how high it's going to be. But again, if you're going to do a trip and you have all day to go out when it's just about low tide or just coming in a little bit. And that's a safer time to kind of see stuff. And if you do have an issue, like we said before, you can get off.
That makes
Then
so
I
much
have
sense.
I have a compass app just for, it just says compass. So we know which direction things are.